Now, does it cause any stress on students? Yes. They commit suicide. There was a case that I was reading here where they didn't tell one girl that her father had died for 3 weeks because they didn't want to throw off her Gaokao marks. Now, these exams are supposed to be fair across China, but they're not. I already explained the other day that there was a professor at some high-end university in China who basically went through the exams and said, no, they favor the rich kids who have rich parents and who live in the first, second, and third tier cities. They're easy. The exams that the kids in the other cities and rural areas have to write are extremely hard. So why would you do that? Well, according to all the information here, it's to keep the kids in the rural areas so they don't come to the big cities and take the places that the rich kids can take in the higher end universities in Beijing, Shanghai, and Shenzhen, and so on. So it's not fair. It was never meant to be fair to the average kid. Could you imagine a migrant worker's child doing well on a Gaokao exam, getting a high mark, and then being able to be accepted into a high-end university in China? A migrant worker's child? I guess that scares the high-end ups, and they want the rich kids to go ahead and do it. Now, there is a lot of pressure. Again, I've talked about that. Loss of sleep, loss of weight, committing suicide, and so on. But what does all this eventually lead up to? Like even in Western schools, when there's this big exam and things that people are studying and it's going to carry a lot of weight, what do some students do? It's called they cheat. And the kids who cheat on Gaokao in China is freaking endemic. I went outside of school one day and I was on my motorbike and I was stopped by a policeman. He said, shh, quiet, Gaokao. And I went, oh, okay. They stopped the traffic from coming down even on the road in front of the school because the Gaokao is that important. You couldn't even have a bike come by. They have all these rules. There's no firecrackers. There's no beeping horns. There's no this. There's no that. And there are stiff penalties if you do something to disturb the Gaokao exam. Now, getting back to that point again is the high-end universities look at the marks that these kids get in the Gaokao, and that's their ticket into a high-end university. So if that's the only way to get in, cheating seems like a good thing to do, doesn't it? And what they do is unbelievable. Even though there's penalties, the cheating is incredible. There are bribing teachers. They're bribing officials. The parents do. Listening devices. When I went past the school that was running the Gaokao, they had this government truck out there, like with all these satellite things on the roof. And I said to somebody, what's that? He goes, oh, those are the jamming devices. And I went, jamming devices? Jamming for what? He says, we jam all airwaves because the kids are cheating. They have earphones, microphones. What is this one here? These girls had in their bras, they had cameras. They take pictures of things and send it out to 5 or 6 people in a room who look up all the answers and then wire them back in their wireless earphone what the answer is. It's unbelievable. It says here, in one case, 62 people were selling wireless headphones, 2-way radios, and other electronic devices to cheat on this week's nationwide college exam, right? And of course, then you get Mr. Arrogant. I heard of this kid before. He driving his BMW into the test site. He was caught by officials when he tried to cheat by looking at his phone. This guy's obviously not very smart because that's the first thing you're going to look at, the phone. But the other one's pretty smart. Once exposed, the student kicked the official and continued with his assault until security guards came and took him away. All the while, reports said he was yelling about his father and how untouchable he is. This brought back memories of 2008 when the son of a senior police officer in China coined a catchphrase for spoiled bratdom, as he fled the scene of a fatal car crash shouting, "My dad is Li Gang," a politician. So this kid kills somebody, drives away yelling, "My dad's going to take care of me." So there's that. That's a big issue, obviously. The cases here are just too many to even mention. The cheating, it's like it's a marathon. It just doesn't stop. But the one I like, and I was actually there, in June of 2013, the parents in Hubei province, this is a good one. The parents surrounded the school, trapped the teachers inside, threw bricks through the windows, beat up security guards, and what was their demand? That you allow, they were protesting the new educational policy that banned cheating. Are you listening? They created a havoc. These parents created havoc at the school. How dare you stop my child from cheating? If my kid's going to get ahead, he's got to be able to cheat. Because the Richie Riches are cheating, why can't my poor kid cheat? I remember that one it was like I was in shock because I'm looking at the video of these people going crazy, the parents in front of the school, and I'm going, they want what? They want to allow their children to cheat so they can get into a good university. I think that pretty much says everything you need to know about the Gaokao and what it's bred in both the parents and the family. I told you the other student come to me and asked for a letter of recommendation for McGill University, and I wouldn't give it to her because she didn't do anything in class. She was like a C- student, and that was C- was a high mark. That was a giver for me. I wouldn't do it. About 4 or 5 weeks later, I got an email from McGill thanking me for providing them with an information on this student about how great she was in class and how good her marks were. And I went, I didn't send anything. I didn't do anything. The school tried to get me to change her mark, and I wouldn't do it. And because I wouldn't do it, I wasn't coerced into doing it like other teachers. Oh, okay, I'll give her an A instead of a C-. I wouldn't do it because that's not the way I operate. That's not education in my books. So I didn't do it, and I got that email from McGill. I sent them back a message and said, I didn't send anything. What these students do is they'll go to an outside source who will make letterhead, put the logo on it, make it look, well, it's called, what's it called? Counterfeiting? They'll counterfeit the school logo and everything, and they'll write up this glowing letter and send it off to the universities in the West where these kids want to go. So, bribery, it's an ugly, ugly situation. So what do the parents do? They know their kids are not going to survive in the Gaokao, so they'll send them to international schools in China. British, Canadian, American, French, doesn't make any difference because they only have to do like their normal grade 12 exam that they would do in their home country. Like if you went to a Canadian school and it was a British Columbia school, then you'd write the BC grade 12 exam, and who doesn't pass that? I mean, it's just an exam to show that you've done something over 12 years. And that's what you need to get into university in Canada. It's pretty simple. So that's what a lot of parents do. They'll send their kids to international schools throughout China, and for which they pay a pretty penny. I believe an average is $32,000 a year to send a student to one of these international schools in China, everything from grade 1 to grade 12. It's about $32,000 a year. And number one, can they do it? Yes, they can. Why? Because the teachers are mostly Laowai. It's a white face at the front of the classroom, which they much prefer because they pretty well understand that most of those people are far better teachers and have far better teacher training than any of the folks in the regular school, the Chinese teachers. I always had Chinese teachers sitting in the back of my room, and after class I'd say, so, any questions? They go, how do you do it? How do you keep control of these kids? Why are they listening to you? They never listen to us. Could be your training and your technique. Kids are kids. They're here to learn. I'm here to teach. I'm not here to be their friend. And they respect that. So a lot of, these schools that these Chinese people are sending their kids to are extremely expensive, but it eliminates the Gao Kao for them. And they just get to write the local exam for that country, and then off they go to America and Canada and Australia and whatever the case is. It's a lot easier on the kids, but it's very expensive for the parents. Anyways, I wanted to just top up what I did about the Gao Kao the other day because as I thought about it, all of these flashbacks came back to me about, the parents demanding you allow us to cheat and that sort of thing. And how Chinese schools converting to take in these kids to go into international programs, they've got to turn their whole school around because they can't do it with the Gao Kao. So they've now had to become international baccalaureate schools like IB. They've got to follow the English school system or whatever the case is, and they have to pass tests. Those schools have to pass tests to get accreditation to be called an IB school or a Cambridge school or whatever the case is. And it was pretty tough for some of those schools, and some of them didn't make it because they still had that Gao Kao mentality, which is not at all acceptable in Western education. We want kids to think for themselves, participate, grow up, learn about other people. All of these schools like IB, they have these big pies with all the different concepts that they want taught. Gao Kao doesn't have that. It's just, you will repeat back to me what I tell you. And that's it, in a nutshell. That's Gao Kao. So it's not going to be successful. And as I mentioned earlier, you've got the emperor's daughter going to Harvard. You got all the other Politburo members. Their kids are either going to these international schools within China, or they're in Australia, or in Canada, or America, and in the UK, because they would never survive in the Gao Kao system. And if they didn't pass those exams, they're toast. So it's far better to send them off to a university overseas where they can forget all that and be successful. Just be a normal student. That's all it takes. It's not money. It's not prestige. It's intelligence and getting into one of these universities overseas and just doing your work. That's all they have to do. That's all that's demanded of them. As opposed to in China. You need, 125%. Anyway, scary concept. I feel sorry for the kids in China. Kids committed suicide at my school. I've seen the schools with the nets around them so kids don't jump out of the buildings and commit suicide. It's not a healthy environment for children. But, again, the CCP has done this with their whole shtick about, we'll tell you what you need to learn. We don't want you to think. Just do what we tell you, and everything will be fine. And it's not going to be. These kids are getting brighter and brighter every day, and they don't want to have anything to do with the Gao Kao system. It stresses, and its teaching is not conducive to lifelong learning. Simple as that. Anyways, I thought you might enjoy the little follow-up on the Gao Kao. So we'll see you on the next round. Take care, everybody. Bye.